Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 3. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
Hello there.
Hello there, so how art thou?
I'm alright. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. I'm a little kerfuffled. I don't know if kerfuffled is the word.
Is kerfuffled even a word?
I believe it is. I may have just coined it now. In fact, yes, I did. I just coined kerfuffled.
So, just tell me what exactly kerfuffled means.
I'm a bit confused. We're in a state of confusion right now in Warhammer, where we're a little unsure of what next army is coming out next, right?
Oh yeah, because there's been rumors that, maybe it's Necrons, maybe it's Dark Eldar, and then it was like, hey, it's for sure Dark Eldar.
Yeah, right? There's this homunculus,
Yeah,
right?
they're like a new homunculus kit and a new rack kit, and then I guess that means that Dark Eldar is next, and then you go on the website, there's no codex, there's no nothing, it's just those two things.
Yeah, and we're all just left waiting. So, when this goes up, it'll actually be a day before when we might actually find out if it is, in fact, Dark Eldar, because we go up on Fridays at the end of the month, and this is going to be, I guess, that Saturday,
the kits are already out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't even pre-orders, that was the weird thing. Or it looked like it wasn't, maybe it is pre-orders, but there wasn't pre-orders for anything else, so maybe they're doing like the full army reveal on Saturday.
Maybe.
It's the weirdest release I've ever seen.
Ever-changing marketing plan of Warhammer 40k.
They're like, buy this stuff that you have no idea if it's any good anymore.
Buy models? You don't know if there's a codex? Find out.
Yeah.
But alright, well, every episode of Roll to Seize, we kick things off with our Seize of the Month, where Andrew and I talk about how badly we fucked up. So...
And it happens often.
It does. It definitely does. So I'll kick off this with my Seize of the Month.
Go for it.
As I've said before, or maybe I have, I believe I have, I like Eldar, and I play Eldar. And one particular unit that I enjoy in Eldar is Warp Spiders. Warp Spiders, if you haven't seen them in the recent Codex buff, which by now you probably should have, they are cheaper, their guns are better, they are faster, they're basically the Bionic Man of Eldar units in the new Eldar Codex.
They basically got everything that you could have wanted. They went up in basically every regard, but then went down in cost. Because reasons.
Because someone got all of my letters to make them amazing. Now, if I could just get a Phoenix Lord Warp Spider, then I would have to stop sending letters to them. Because that's what I agreed to, legally. There was a whole case. We won't get into it. Anyways, Seize of the Month, where I screwed up big time. So, I like Warp Spiders, so I decided to make a list. Tons of Warp Spiders. 3 Warp Spider squads.
Yeah. Now full squads or like nearly
close
full?
to it, like 8 spiders in each.
Okay.
8 spiders and 1 Exarch. So I guess 7 spiders and one of them being an Exarch or Exarch, however you prefer to pronounce it.
Yes.
But 3 squads of these bad boys. Now they don't start on the field. These spiders can deep strike.
Well, you can start them on the field.
You can start them on the field.
You chose to.
You can never start Warp Spiders on the field. It just says that in the Codex. No, you cannot allow them. But yes, you can deep strike them, and I'm using them as kind of my I guess not Alpha Strike, but a Beta Strike.
A Beta Strike, yes.
C Strike, Data Strike.
It would be.
Delta Strike?
It's Beta. Beta Strike is the correct term for essentially. Alpha Strike. We have mentioned before. Alpha Strike essentially means be the first to go, hit your opponent, do a decisive blow, and hopefully they never recover.
Right. Beta Strike is like, hey, maybe survive a turn and then do my big move.
Essentially, yeah. Wait for them to maneuver and think they're safe, and then pounce on them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this army functions off the idea of a Beta Strike. It's got an Autarch, and a lot of things are coming in my second turn from Deep Strike. And the Autarch, if you don't know, can give an advantage to rolls so that you have a +1 to your Deep Strike rolls or your reserve rolls or whatever it might be. So you have a very good chance of everything coming in, regardless. So let's set the stage. My Spider army are off the board. Got a couple dudes on there. They have survived. I'm fighting Eldar, another Eldar army, which I believe is what contributed to what happened next. It is my turn, top of turn 2. I roll. All my Warp Spiders come in. Fantastic. First squad drops down, goes a little bit off, and actually lands in a bush by my enemy. So about I think about 10 inches, way off scatter. So they land, and a few of them actually die through dangerous terrain tests. Only one or maybe two. Very small amount, but most of my squad makes it.
It's still unusual for that many, for even one to die from dangerous terrain.
Exactly, but, things, right? Now, this could be the worst thing that could happen. Incorrect. My other Warp Spider squad comes in, scatters again, and lands directly on, I believe it was an enemy vehicle of some sort. Regardless, I was within 1 inch.
Well, yeah, if you can't deploy the entire squad more than 1 inch away from the enemy, you mishap.
I mishap. So the squad mishaps, they get confused, wait, is that our army? And then they just go back into the warp, I guess, however they work.
Well, yeah, when you deep strike, if you mishap, then you roll on the table. And, normally it's either, the weird, normal, crappy one is that your opponent gets to place it wherever they want. Mm-hmm. And that's just more at least it's alive, but it gets, thrown somewhere else.
Or you get ongoing reserves, and they go back in. So for this case, they got ongoing reserves. Still shitty. One Warp Spider squad in, one Warp Spider squad in ongoing reserves. Terrible. Last Warp Spider squad coming in. Gonna work fine this time, right? Does not hit. Scatters again. Scatters off the board. I believe off the board. And in my rolling, I believe actually it wasn't my rolling. I gave it to the opponent and said, hey, please roll. I made the mistake. I believe they rolled a 1.
You should have rolled, yes.
I should have rolled. And they mishapped and died. So in my deep striking of my Warp Spiders, I got 1 down, lost a few guys in a bush, way off target, mishapped 1 to go into ongoing reserved, and mishapped 1 into death. So that was my terrible play of my Warp Spiders. Again, just confused coming in.
And I'm assuming that also gave your opponent first blood.
Yes, it did. That was the most beautiful part about it, is no one had killed anything yet. So my Warp Spiders gave my opponent first blood, and I actually believe he won that game by 1 point, which makes me feel really just warm and fuzzy and happy inside.
I mean, you should have seen all the warning signs. You were playing against Eldar, and you gave the other Eldar player command of your unit.
Exactly, is what happened. I was like, yeah, here you go. Fate in your hands. Yeah. That was...
He willed it. He was like, well, this isn't my unit.
Clearly, this is going to be my first blood. So, boom. And, of course, if anyone doesn't know, Warp Spiders being near almost anything has a very high chance of killing it. So,
yes, they're very deadly at close range.
Really, this one result is the only way I could have completely failed on first blood, and I guess it cost me the game. So that was my terrible, terrible season of the month. Andrew, what is yours?
All right, so the last tournament I was in, I should take a step back. The tournaments that I normally play in and that Jay normally plays in, occasionally they're normally run as rogue trader tournaments, which if you're not familiar with that means they're generally more casual. They have a couple, 1 or 2 serious missions, and then they'll just occasionally have, a wacky one or something like that. Or
everybody's made of slime.
Yeah, stuff like that, like a Ratman. Oh god, Ratman.
Yeah, we had a weird skirmish once where you're fighting indigenous creatures as well as your opponent, and that did not go well.
That's a story for another day of how Ratman dealt more casualties than any army.
The actual opponent. Son of a bitch, Ratman.
But it's an odd occurrence that every time that he's done a wacky mission, our tournament organizer, somehow I've brought the exact army to be the worst army to play for that mission. Now, it's not like I know what it is in advance or he knows what I'm bringing in advance.
Man, wouldn't it be funny if I just screwed myself every time?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like... it's just this amusing and also depressing fact that basically every special mission we've ever had has screwed me probably more than anybody else there.
And you can tell because we get, I think, to the 3rd round and you just hear in the background, fuck!
Yeah, of course, yeah. He's talking to all of us in a group, and he just mentions what it is, and you just hear me scream fuck, and then lay my head down low and go walk away, because I know I'm basically screwed anyway.
He Charlie Browns it all the way back to the table.
Yeah. So this past tournament, there was a mission. It's a throwback mission from the crazy Rogue Trader
the wild,
days.
Wild West days. If any of you young kids don't know, it used to be crazy back in the day of Warhammer.
It was beyond bonkers.
Yeah.
And this mission in particular, if you're not familiar, is called the Traitor.
Now, I bet you can't guess what that entails.
It totally doesn't mean having to give your opponent something of your own.
And it definitely doesn't entail something large or substantial.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to only be like a 6-point model, right?
Like a dude, like a small guy.
Well, So the traitor in this, what the mission is essentially one of your models in your army is a traitor for the enemy.
Surprise.
It becomes an independent character, and it has
just
some...
Dick around on the field.
Yeah, it has some like extra points attached to it via the mission. Like if you kill the traitor,
Does
then you
it
get
really?
extra... Yeah, if you kill the traitor, you get extra points, stuff like that.
To make it even worse.
But the way that it's selected is through elites first, then troops and everything else. I don't need to mention the other order.
Right.
The fact that it's elite first means that it's usually going to be something pretty sweet that's taken.
Now, what did you happen to be playing that day, Andrew?
I was playing my Tyranids. I have a very strong love-hate relationship with this army, and I just so happen to be running what I call my Monster Mash list, which is 8 monstrous creatures and not much else. So, I only had 2 elites, both of which big bads, and one of which I couldn't really... I couldn't get rid of, which is a Malanthrope. It gives everything in my army shrouded, basically. I can't get rid of that. So I had to just give up my Haruspex, my 190-point monstrous creature, to my opponent.
190 points.
What did I get in return? A single Imperial Guard veteran.
Ooh.
It's a difference...
Badass trade.
Yes, it's about a difference of 180 points.
You imagine that trade on the battlefield as they cross paths, just like this lumbering massive, and the veteran's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just how a Haruspex is even a traitor in the first place is silly, but, you know, shenanigans.
You know, they're like, fuck this Hive fleet, I'm gonna go hang out with these humans.
Yeah, so I guess I'm breaking the mold a little bit, and my C's this month would be army design, essentially, because I didn't take into account the wackiness that has happened on many occasions, and was forced to basically neuter myself from being able to fight my opponent. I was at an automatic disadvantage. I had lost basically an eighth of my army from before the game even started. So...
And not only that, did you lose it, but your opponent gained it.
Yes.
So it's almost like you didn't lose 190 points, you actually swung, 380 points, basically.
Yes, because essentially it's a 1750 point tournament, so I dropped down to, around 1500, and suddenly he's up close to 2000, and it's just like... Pretty
big swing.
And yeah, it's just
But you got a
ridiculous.
sweet guardsman, which is always nice. Last guns? Those things are powerful. Real powerful. You can't see it, but Andrew's looking like a demon ready to just eat me right now.
Long story short, the match did not end well. Oddly enough, he played the thing badly, and I ended up first blooding my own monster.
Perfect.
But, which I guess is poetic justice.
It is.
But...
How dare you leave the fold of the Hive fleet?
I guess my C's then in this moment, my fault was army design. Essentially I played a very limited scope army and didn't have redundancy, and I paid for it.
And you should be punished for creativity, guys. If anyone takes anything away from this episode, creativity, fuck that shit. Copy pasta. No. But one thing to keep in mind out of this, I would say, is know your game organizer. Is your game organizer crazy? Is your game organizer going to throw traitor missions into the mix? Is it possible? Maybe have one extra guardsman in there just in case. All right, everybody. Well, that was our roll to seizes for this month.
Seizes of the month.
Seizes of the month.
Yes.
And now we'll be moving on to our next section called the Brown Library.
All right, so I delved into the deep recesses of the Brown Library this month.
And Greg's redecorated, I think, hasn't he?
It's more like reorganized, and now I can't find anything.
Yeah, what the hell did you do in here, Greg?
It's not alphabetical, it's not numerical, it's sort of like... Well, what he said to me was, it's how I feel like it should go.
This man has spent far too much time in this library is really what's going on.
Yeah, it's definitely affecting his psyche.
Trying to mess with his mind. But anyways.
Anyway, so what I ended up finding, it'll be an army that you recognized. I was delving into the Necron army. Necron, space...
Love me some sexy Necrons.
Space robots.
Those two words have never been put together.
Sexy Necrons. I don't know how they're sexy. I guess if you're into machines.
Yeah, kind of, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Look, my love is totally true and normal.
I don't know if we should go into this any further.
Anyways, what did I just say? I blacked out for a moment. What? I didn't reveal anything about my love for robots, did I?
But the odd unit that I've always had an interest in and never really seen in any battle ever where Necrons are used is the Necron Flayed One.
Oh, yes. I was hoping you were going to say this. I was like, never seen. Got to be the Flayed One.
Yes, Flayed Ones. Basically, a Necron warrior that has gone insane. Somehow the robot's consciousness is insane. And decides to start, as its name, flay beings and cover itself in their skin. And
I'm like a person.
And
right?
Try to drink their blood and stuff, even
What?
though it has no esophagus.
Do they try to drink
Yeah,
its blood?
they try. It's like they have an insatiable hunger that they can never fill because they have no digestive tract.
Now, are they trying to fill themselves with blood to be people, or they just want to
No,
kill
they're
and
just like
drink people?
hungry,
Ooh.
basically. So the backstory of this is that if many of you don't know, the Necrons were originally led by a godlike race called the Ctan or the Ctan, depending on your pronunciation.
Exarch, Edgearch,
Yeah.
Catan, Satan,
I prefer Ctan.
Ctan. It's like gyro. You can say gyro, euro, gyro. It doesn't really matter.
No, it's all personal preference.
Exactly.
But, these are star gods. They were literal beings that could only be perceived a certain way, and they fed off of stars. So Necrons bring these things into being, give them shells to basically live in, and then they enslave the Necrons and...
Pretty big dick move by these star gods. Can we
Yeah.
all agree?
Oh,
Gave
you
me a
gave us-
sweet body.
Yeah, sweet indestructible body, and the
Nice
ability to eat
homes.
souls and stuff like that, and you're all my slaves
And
now.
you're all slaves now. Just dicks.
But there was one, when the betrayal happened, which was the Necron tier, the Necron Empire, essentially rising against the Ctan and starting to strike them down, there was one Ctan in particular called the Flayer. And because they
Wonder
all
what he did. What was he known for?
probably kittens.
Mostly kittens, right? This kitten star god, the cutest of the Catans.
And the most terrifying at the same time.
I agree. You think you're gonna cuddle with them, and then as you're just about to drift off to sleep, they just dig their nails into your chest, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Most star gods.
imagine 100 kittens taking your skin off. I mean, that's pretty awful.
It's pretty terrifying.
But they all have designates, like you have the Nightbringer, and who's supposed to be the Grim Reaper, essentially,
Right.
and then you have the Deceiver. They all have these titles, essentially.
Who would ever trust the Deceiver? Yeah, we should definitely bring the Deceiver in on this plan. It's like, yes.
I mean, the fact that was ever, like, a thing, like, my name's the Deceiver, well, I am totally trusting you.
You know what? I really feel like I can open up to you and tell you our secrets.
Yes.
Like, yeah, no, of course, go
Well,
on.
so the Deceiver decides to mind fuck the Nightbringer, who was the most powerful of them, into telling them basically the other Catan are more yummy than anything you've ever tasted before. So,
Me Grimlock, me kill.
yeah, so the Nightbringer just basically starts, through the Deceiver's suggestion, just starts eating all the other star gods.
Good. Very good.
And at the same time, the Necron Empire is rising up against them and starting to strike them down and then enslave them in turn, essentially. And they do. They end up shattering the Deceiver and the Nightbringer and
Ooh.
enslaving them. Basically,
High five, Necron tier all around.
yeah, they basically created these cool prisons. Prisons.
Prison. Say
they're
it
basically
7 times fast.
No, thank you.
You did it would summon it. Never mind.
More reason for me not to
More
do it.
reason. Yeah, probably best.
But they constructed these cool labyrinths, essentially, these infinite labyrinths that they trapped them in. And so anytime it looks like they're going to break out, now that the Necrons have enslaved the enslavers, essentially, they immediately just get warped right back into these prisons. So
They're so pissed. Like, as soon as I get out of here, you guys are fucked.
yeah, exactly. So then, but the one of the Ctan Gods, the Flayer, got essentially gunned down and utterly obliterated as far as they know. Like, they didn't even try and trap him. They just, because he was like a lunatic, like a butcher, basically.
Probably the best approach for something called the Flayer.
Yeah, so they just decided to destroy him instead, and his last gift to the Necrons is what's called the Flayer Curse. And essentially, it was like his last death throes as he's being obliterated, is he inflicted a fleshy hunger upon the Necrons that they don't even fully understand themselves.
Ooh.
Makes them eternally hungry and then slowly go insane, essentially. And, the Necrons are living machines. They're basically just walking machines.
Just robots.
They're just robots with consciousness. And so they have no digestive tract or anything like that, so they can never, get sustenance from any of
Does
this.
their mouth even go anywhere? Does it just go to the back
there's
of
no
their...
esophagus. It's
Yeah.
just literally just like a voice processor, and that's about it. So it's just, they're just literally, there's stories of
This
flayers.
doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, there's literally stories of flayers that are just, drenched. You can hear them slosh as they walk because they have so many just caught fluids in them that they can't consume, and they just will keep doing it.
Flayed Ones are like alcoholics for Necrons.
Oh, yeah, extreme alcoholics. Will kill people to get to their booze.
Jeez.
So flayers in the game are essentially, they're an unusual thing for Necrons. They're pure close combat units. They have no ranged weapons.
Right.
They're also slow, like most Necrons, but they come with 3 attacks apiece, base.
Which is, for Necrons, if you don't know, pretty surprising.
That's substantial. So normally, even regular close combat units will have 3 attacks base.
Yeah.
3 attacks, 4 on the charge. That's pretty great.
Especially for guys that are pretty close to Space Marines.
Yeah, their weapon skill 4, their toughness 4, their strength 4.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing they don't have over Space Marines is a 4+ as opposed to a 3+ save.
Yeah.
But they also have reanimation protocols, which is great.
Which is basically their own version of Feel No Pain.
Yeah, even better though, because they essentially Feel No Pain. You can't take the Feel No Pain save against insta death weapons and stuff like
That's
that.
right.
Whereas,
Reanimation is just like, yep, you get back up or try.
And the reanimation protocols is also really great, specifically for this unit, because the rules for reanimation protocols is when something reanimates, you just have to place new models basically within 3 inches of the unit, which means they could die in the back and then suddenly they're up front.
What are they, coming out of the ground, like Thriller style? Thriller!
Yeah, I don't know. That's how you argue it, but so for a close combat unit, that's great. That basically means they die and are just still inching closer to the enemy.
Oh, yeah.
Another unique thing about them for a close combat unit is they can also run in units of 20.
What?
So that's on the charge.
I didn't even know that.
80 attacks.
Oh my god.
So 80 strength 4 attacks on the charge.
From things that look like Edward Scissorhands is coming at you.
Basically. They're basically space machine Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissors, control, copy, paste.
It's basically
paste,
Edward
paste.
Scissorhands combined with the Terminator.
Yeah. Oof. That's a terrifying combination.
Yeah, that's pretty nasty.
Somebody had a nightmare about the Terminator and Edward Scissorhands getting together like, this must be in my game.
Yeah, exactly. That's somebody Games Workshop was just like, I have an idea. I know,
It's terrifying.
It's out there, but it's really scary.
We're listening. Everyone's stroking beards that I imagine they all have over
Yes,
there.
why wouldn't they have beards?
Of course, right?
So I've always been fascinated by this unit. The entire idea of Necrons being close combat has always been an interesting idea for me, just because it's so out of the norm, and as you know from our podcast thus far, we make really goofy
lists and out of the norm lists.
We do goofy shit. That's just what we do.
We were going to talk about an entire Wave Serpent list, but this seemed a little bit different. But
just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A tad away from the norm.
Yeah. And I think can't Flayed Ones, they can Deep Strike, right?
Well, interestingly enough, they have Deep Strike and they have Infiltrate. So, depending on what your choices are, you're like, hey, I can just deploy right in front of the army, or I can just deep strike in right next to them. And normally, there's been a lot of contention. It's like, well, if you want to carry them in a max squad because they're only 13 points a model.
And obviously, you're going to put them right next to the enemy, so they're going to take a lot of hits up front.
Yeah, and which is also great because, once again, 4+ save isn't bad. If they're in cover, they get cover, and they have reanimation protocols, so they can just come back. So
Great bullet sponge.
Yeah, they damage sponge ridiculously well. And because you have a unit of 20 of them, that's a lot of shots to get
You got to
through.
dedicate a lot to kill that unit.
That's like anti-tank fire going towards them. It's a ton. It's a ton of fire dedicated to a unit that
you might not even kill. You're just like, I did it. Oh, no. Okay. Well, the punchman just came back.
And they're also, another great thing is they're also leadership 10, like most Necrons.
Robots. Gotta love leadership 10.
Which means that it's almost impossible to make them fall back unless you beat them in close combat, and if you try, good luck. Because most even dedicated close combat units, normally they're like like Terminators, or if you're Space Wolves, you have like Wolf Cavalry and stuff like that. They don't have volume of attacks enough to deal with something like this.
Yeah, too many bodies, and when the Necrons get to go, it's just going to be a tidal wave of murder coming.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, is that most dedicated close combat units you'd go against are all striking at initiative 1 because they're all using thunderhammers and crap like that.
Right, they're all like, I'm gonna live through this so I can kill you.
So it's like,
or they have like 3-up invul save shields.
Yeah, which is just like that. Okay, that's fine.
I have 80 attacks.
I have 80 attacks from my Necrons that go in first at strength 4. I mean, it's just like, even Terminators are gonna go down to that many attacks. You just can't survive.
Oh yeah,
that many attacks, even if it's if they're hitting on 4s, which they likely are. If they're hitting on 4s against most things, that's still 40 attacks that go through, and even if they're wounding on 4s as well, that's still 20 wounds on average that goes through. I mean, like, that decimates most things it touches.
Oh yeah, and chances are you'll probably win that combat.
So I decided to take it a step further and make the unit even worse.
Okay.
Which is, you then attach one of the nastiest close combat units in the game, something I hate utterly, which is the Destroyer Lord.
Oh, he's so great, though.
He's
and
an
if anyone
asshole.
hasn't heard the first episode, I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the Destroyer.
Yes.
In my love to kill him all the time.
You should
myself.
listen to the first episode if you haven't already.
I do a great job with my Destroyer Lord.
But you attach him to the unit, because one thing that unit obviously lacks, it doesn't punch armor. Sure, like it can glance rear armor 10 vehicles to death. Like, that's its best option. I mean, 80 attacks, it's likely going to.
80 attacks is going to do it, man.
Yeah.
You're going to get 6s in there.
But the real strong stuff, the stuff that could potentially tar pit them being a terminology that we use to say that something's permanently locked in close combat and basically stuck there the whole game.
You are here forever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It basically just takes 2 units out of the game.
Oh my god, and a unit that just keeps reanimating. It's like, I already killed half of you. What the hell is going on here?
Exactly. So, offensively, they could be a great tar pit unit, but at the same time, you do want them to actually succeed and win fights and then go on to murder the rest of the army.
Because it's fun.
Because it's more fun that way. So you attach a Destroyer Lord to them, and what I gave the Destroyer Lord was, you keep it with its stock war scythe, which is disgusting,
Yeah,
Strength
no
7,
improvements needed for
Strength
that one.
7, AP1 Armor Bane that takes care of all your vehicle problems.
Pretty nice. And some monstrous creatures.
I mean, most monstrous creatures are toughness 6. 80 strength 4 attacks is going to beat a monstrous creature to death.
That's very true.
It's just like, there's nothing you can do against
I like
that.
to believe that the Flayers are just a bunch of Necrons that just want to be good barbers, and they just can't make it happen.
They're like, just a little more, just a little more off the top.
A little more. Oh, that's your head. I'm sorry. I got too carried away. I apologize.
But you attach the Destroyer Lord to them, so you get that nice war scythe, so you have some nice anti-armor, plus armor punching capability.
Yeah.
You stick him there as well. I mean, he's toughness 6, which means that you put him out front, and you just have him absorb the wounds that you wouldn't want the rest of them taking.
Yeah, because he's 2 up, so he's ting, 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 just going to be plinking it off of him.
With the Sempiternal Weave, you make him a 2 up. And then you take it, you give him the trademark, which is something you never leave home without, as Necrons, which is Mind Shackle Scarabs.
Oh, yeah.
Making the opponents hit themselves is the most stupid thing ever.
I love it.
It's basically Interceptor in the assault phase.
Whoa, we're going a little out of line here. Interceptor for close combat phase.
Yes.
Oh, come on.
You know it is.
Look, but he still has to get in close combat with you.
He's a 2
Tau
plus.
just automatically say, we just get another turn.
He's a
Fuck
2
you.
plus save, 3 wounds, 6 toughness jump character.
Yeah, well, we'll see. New Necron Codex eventually. We'll see if it stays.
Yeah, and that will be an interesting change to see if that changes. But then you give him something beautiful as well, which is Resurrection Orb.
The other OG item of Necrons carried over from the original Codex.
Yes, which is beautiful, especially with this group, because what the Resurrection Orb does, if you don't know, is it changes their normal reanimation protocols from a 5+ to a 4+.
Which is awesome when you're rolling for 20 bodies.
20 bodies, which substantially increases their survivability. So then you have all of that together, and then there's another beautiful thing that most people forget to ever remember on the Destroyer Lord, which is it has preferred enemy everything. Which means that it applies that rule to the entire squad.
Does it?
It does.
I didn't know that.
As long as one model has the rule,
Oof.
They all have it.
Getting a little bit of a robot boner right now. Did I say something about robot boners? I'm sorry, I blacked out again.
This is going back to this.
I have some real mental troubles lately with blackouts. I black out and I say weird
robot
things.
frustration?
So strange. So odd.
But yeah, so I mean, you think about that. 20 guys, plus a Destroyer Lord. Everything has preferred enemy. 80 attacks on the charge, plus the 4 extra from the Destroyer Lord. I mean, that it decimates so much. And then
So mean.
you think of it in the truest sense, which is you're not hoping that the Flayer unit survives. It's basically a 20-man assault bodyguard for a Destroyer Lord, which is disgusting. The reason you take a Destroyer Lord with him is because the Destroyer Lord is jump infantry, which means it can deep strike, which means the entire unit can deep strike.
Surprise! I'm gonna kill you next turn.
And the beauty of it, most people are saying, "Oh, well, isn't it usually better to infiltrate them?" Well, the convenience is with the new Warlord traits that, as long as the army is combined arms, which is the way I designed it, and not unbound, it's a battle forged army. You roll Warlord trait, you roll on the strategic traits, you go for essentially the infiltrate one, the Master of Ambush, which allows your Warlord and 3 other units to gain infiltrate before the beginning of the game, which means then you can either, if you do get that, you can either deep strike that unit, or it gives your Warlord infiltrate, which means then he can now deploy with the infiltrators.
With that unit. Ah, very clever.
Yeah, so that changes the name of the game, and maybe avoids some of the dangers of deep strike. Because that's the other thing.
Because as we've already heard this episode, deep strike can go pretty bad sometimes.
It can go pretty bad. Most people say, "Oh man, 20 models is a lot to deep strike." Well, somebody actually did the math and found out that 20 models clumped together in a normal deep strike is about actually the same profile as a drop pod.
Oh.
It's not that large, surprisingly, because they're just infantry models. And then the last one you'll always place is the Destroyer Lord, because you always want to put him out front.
Out front or out back, depending on what
or
you're
out
going
back.
against,
So
right.
then you just always place him last.
It's a lot of hugging. A lot of uncomfortable hugging when they drop in.
Terminator, Edward Scissorhands hugging all over the place.
That would be terrifying.
Blade hugs.
Blade hugs. The best kind of... No, I'm not.
So then taking it even a step further through this totally unused unit. I mean, I would be surprised if any of you listening have ever seen Flayed Ones in
I've
combat.
never seen it.
I've never even heard of a player that owns them. Which is...
Someone in Warhammer 40k and Games Workshop is just sad right now.
I mean, it
just
may
a warehouse full of Flayed Ones.
I mean, it may have something to do with the 5-man box is like $40 or something.
Totally
like
reasonable.
Especially for something that never gets used.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're not posable. I'm sure they're probably just,
I mean, like semi-posable?
Maybe.
Not like a nice full plastic kit, though. I mean, that just doesn't exist, which is also very sad because it's a cool idea for a unit with cool fluff, and
who knows, we might see some more after this. But so what is your list, I guess, pumped up on robot steroids?
So obviously it's 2 Destroyer Lords with the same kit that we just mentioned, with 2 full Flayed One units. That's the core of the army, and surprisingly cheap. I mean, the Destroyer Lords are going to run you about 190 points, but that's because they're Destroyer Lords and they're just expensive.
They're awesome, too.
They're awesome. So the Flayed One units, surprisingly, though, are not expensive. I mean, 13 points a model racks in the unit at only 195 points. So basically, you're getting...
For
20 of them is 195 points.
Jeez.
It's cheap as hell.
That's awesome.
So that's great. And then, you take the ablative. I just took 2 for, because you have to take 2 troop units. So I just took 2 min warrior squads, just 5-man warrior squads with night sides, just so you have some flexibility.
Might as well.
You could even lose the night sides if you want and just have them off the board most of the time. And then the rest of the army, no shooting. Let's just go full close combat, out the ass.
Just confuse the shit out of somebody.
3 Scarab squads, 4 man apiece.
Oh, man.
3 squads that are 4 Scarab bases apiece, and then 3 full Tomb Spider squads for your heavies.
Oof, I love this.
So it's 9 Tomb Spiders plus 12 Scarabs. That's basically what's on the board first if you're deep striking. And the beauty of the spiders is that the spiders add bases to the scarabs. So
And the scarabs are 3 wounds apiece, each base.
3 wounds apiece.
Unless you're hitting them with blasts, it's tough to blow down that many bodies.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they're in cover, and I mean, since they're swarms, they're even better in cover. And
are they still better in cover with the new list? With the new 7th edition?
I may be wrong with that. I thought they had stealth, but maybe
we'll
not.
find out. Someone out there knows.
But regardless, I mean, it's still at base cost.
Right.
12 wounds
Yeah,
that potentially are in cover, and they're beasts, so they're fast as hell and ignore difficult terrain.
I love me some Necron Scarab Swarms. They are awesome.
Yeah, on the advantage of, because obviously the Flayed One units can handle basically any infantry they touch. So then the advantage is that now that you have spiders, monstrous creatures...
That's a terrible decision to have to make, like, by second turn. You're like, I've got tons of scarabs coming at me, because they're beasts, they're moving 12, so they're going to get there. And then I've got 2 full squads of Flayed Ones and 2 Destroyer Lords.
Right in front of you. Everything. It's so much threat saturation, and the beauty with the spiders...
Almost all of them is ablative. All of them is all just like, kill whatever, I don't give a shit. Someone's going to kill you.
And it's all really resilient. I mean, even the spider squads, they're adding, if they're in range, 3 new scarab bases to the scarab units every turn. So first turn, if they get untouched,
because these aren't like they're not like the Tyranid ones that just spit out termagants. These just keep adding things every turn.
It's as long as you have the bases and you're within, I think, 6 inches,
right?
Then you can add a base to a squad per spider.
Nice.
So each squad has 3 spiders, which means they each add 1, which means that's at first turn, the 4 becomes 7. If you're in range, second turn, 7 becomes 10.
Gross.
And suddenly, it's just out of hand. Like, it's completely out of hand that you don't know what the hell you're supposed to go for. And the beauty of the spiders and the scarabs, again, well, spiders are more, with the new changes to Smash, not as good against vehicles anymore. I mean, it's still 3 strength 10 hits, AP2, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, they will bring more anti-infantry capability with armor penning.
For sure.
And then, I mean, and it's 9 wounds. They're 3 wounds apiece, so they're not, like,
not
flimsy.
pushovers. Yeah.
But then scarabs, as anyone who's played scarabs knows, scarabs handle any armor that they touch. I mean, they
shred it.
The
like paper.
Entropic Strike just rips apart vehicles.
All right. Well, this is the Edward Scissorhand and Scarab combo. So what's the name of this list?
I just called it the Flayer is what I called it, because it's essentially influenced homage to the Ctan God. His last gasp is basically making a super close combat Necron Death Squad.
Wow. I imagine they just pool everybody that are these Flayers into this army.
I imagine they're just all insane. Like the Canoptic, the spiders and scarabs are trying to keep the rest of them in line, and the rest of them are just insane.
Oh, the spiders take care of them.
Yeah,
That's
they
awesome.
literally manage them.
Like, you guys are crazy. Stay over here.
Yeah, they like corral them. I imagine they corral them and stuff like that.
Awesome. Just imagining the spiders corralling the Necrons. That's pretty funny. Awesome.
I think that was great.
Well, guys, if you want to create your own, the Flayer Army, now you've got the list, and we'll be sure to post the detailed list on partialarc.com with the episode in the show notes. So check it out. And now our last segment we have, which is what we call the Dakka of Dakkas, where we pull kind of one of our favorite comments from the Dakka community. And Andrew, what is our comment of this month?
So I was digging around, obviously my research of Flayed Ones, and their love all over the internet for them.
Oh, so much.
And by love, I mean brutal hatred that most people have for them. And I found one reader that decided to comment, "The models are expensive and are the most hideous release Games Workshop has done to date."
Wow.
That's saying something, because there's a lot of ugly shit out there.
There is. And there's some beautiful stuff, but guys, that's a pretty bold statement.
I mean, to say they're the worst of the worst,
yeah,
I'll agree with the expensive part.
Very expensive.
But to say that they were the worst kit ever made... That's saying something. That's a bold statement.
Bold statement, very bold. But awesome. All right, guys. Well, that was our Dakka of Dakkas, and that was our episode 3 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode every month. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Partial Arc. We're now moving a lot of our Twitter and Instagram stuff under Partial Arc, so you can check out all our stuff there. Also, be sure to head to dakkadakka.com and go to the Roll to Seize blog to share any of your own seizes of the month. Thanks for listening, and your fun fact for the month is...
Necrons are the only army in 40k that have a senile character.
Really?
They have one guy.
Oh, is that Zendikar?
Zendrak, or Zendikar, whatever
Yeah.
his name is. Yes, he's a lord that literally, he sees everything as the old ways. He literally doesn't perceive reality as he's supposed to.
Mary, why don't you get me some of that old human blood?